Still, two of white's pieces are under attack. And now white blows through the position, blowing through the center, beginning with e5. What a move. The rook on a1 and bishop on g5 are still under attack, but black's king is in the middle. Edouard is playing in an inspired tile-like fashion, but I think here begins a beautiful sequence, beginning with rook d5 check. Bishop d6. This is why I considered this variation. The rook on e8 is now in the game. It is threatening checkmate. I'm just wondering how white can get out of this, but here begins a beautiful sequence. In the New in Chess magazine, Romain Edouard mentioned that the best game he ever played was against Chatchiev in 2010 in the French Championships. Let's take a look at this beautiful miniature. The game began e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, we have a Spanish a6, bishop a4, b5, bishop b3, knight a5. Risky to play like this, neglecting kingside development. White now castles, d6, rook e1, knight f6, d4. Edouard correctly opens up the center straight away. Black's king is still in the middle, and also black's knight is on a5. d4 is the correct move. In this position, Chatchiev blundered with knight d7. Another move would have been knight takes b3, and after a takes b3, bishop b7, putting pressure straight away on the e4 pawn, and after d takes e5, knight e4, knight c3. It looks like white is going to blow through the center. Black can delay things with d5, but after knight d4, I think white will have a nice position. If you play c5, looks like knight f5. Things are looking really good for white. Back to the game, knight d7 was played, which gave Romain Edouard the chance to create a beautiful miniature. No wonder he mentioned this was the best game he ever played back in 2010. D takes e5 played. Correct to open the center. The bishop on b3 is so powerful, the knight has the chance to go to g5. Black now chose to get rid of the bishop on b3, knight takes b3. Black may have expected a takes b3, a simple recapture, but Romain Edouard had another idea, beginning with bishop g5. A beautiful intermezzo. I wonder if this move really works. f6 played. Perhaps black thought this was possible. With f6, two of white's pieces are under attack. E takes f6, g takes f6. Still, two of white's pieces are under attack. And now white blows through the position, blowing through the center, beginning with e5. What a move. The rook on a1 and bishop on g5 are still under attack, but black's king is in the middle. Edouard is playing in an inspired tile-like fashion. D takes e5 played in the real game. Let's check out knight takes a1 firstly. The worst option. E takes f6, discovered check, king f7, queen d5 check, king g6, knight h4 check, king h5, and now checkmate very soon. Let's just lure the king in with g4 check. You can take queen f5 check, king h5, and now bishop f4 check. Forcing the king to take the knight, and then bishop g3 will be checkmate. Let's have a look at knight takes e5, and this variation is very similar to the real game. But there are a few important details I want to look at, which are very beautiful. Knight takes e5, d takes, rook takes e5 check, bishop e7, and now queen h5 check, king d7 forced. What if king f8? Bishop h6 check, king g8, and a check on the g file is mate. Rook e3, bring it back. Notice the queen on h5 is protecting the d1 square. Bishop f5, an attempt to delay mate. You cannot play queen takes f5 because queen d1 will be mate. Rook g3 check, bishop g6, you take it. You cannot take back because queen takes g6 is mate. If king f7, rook g3 check, king e6, and a takes b3, and white is completely winning. White is a piece up, and black's king is in the middle. After queen h5 check, king d7. It would be very nice if rook d5 check worked in this position, but bishop d6, and it looks like black will be getting out. That is why white needs a brilliant move in this position. It would be very nice to deflect this bishop. That's why in this move, white played the brilliant bishop takes f6. And it all falls apart. If bishop takes f6, rook d5 check, picks up the queen. If you go king c6, you can take, a takes b3, queen on h5 still guarding d1, bishop takes b2, rook a2, and then c4, and white will be getting out. The knight can come to d2, the king can go to f1, the queen can come back to f3, check. White could play g3 or h3 just to give him some space. After bishop takes f6, maybe black can play rook e8 to defend. But I think here begins a beautiful sequence, beginning with rook d5 check. Bishop d6. This is why I consider this variation. The rook on e8 is now in the game. It is threatening checkmate. I'm just wondering how white can get out of this. But here begins a beautiful sequence with rook d6 check. It is all about bringing the king forward such that white can deliver a check with the queen, but at the same time stopping a back rank checkmate. That's why this variation is so beautiful. Firstly, let's look at the worst option, which is king takes d6. Rook e1 mate is still threatened. Bishop on f6 is under attack. But in this crazy position, would you believe it, knight c3 is the beautiful move, threatening queen d5 check. The rook is now guarding e1, but also if you don't take the rook on a1, rook d1 will be mate. Let's see what happens. If knight takes a1, checkmate in one move, queen d5 mate. If queen takes f6, queen takes e8, with the dual purpose of threatening knight e4 check and rook d1 check as well. Bishop b7 stopping knight e4, get the rook in, knight d4, and now knight e4 check, forcing black to take, and after queen takes e4, the rook and the knight are hanging. Deal with the rook, and after queen takes d4 check, it just liquidates very nicely into a 1 endgame. Queen takes d4, rook takes d4, 3 against 1 on the king side, job done. After rook takes d6 check, c takes d6 looks like it makes more sense. You're guarding the king, but white has a nice sequence of checks with the white queen. Queen h3 check. This is the brilliant retreating move. The great thing about this move is it forces the black king onto the c file. And this is the problem for black. If king c6, can you see a check from the white queen such that it still guards the back rank? The move is queen c3 check, covering e1. Simply stunning. King d7, bishop takes d8, and we're good. Knight takes a1, and white is completely winning. You could throw in this check just to force the king on the e-file and then get the knight in. You can move the bishop if you want, bishop h4, and there's no coordination among the black pieces. Back to the game, white played e5 and d takes e5 was played. Knight takes e5, knight takes e5, rook takes e5 check. It looks like it transposes to the above variation. The reason I wanted to go through the above variation was that amazing rook d5 check with rook takes d6. Let's continue. Bishop e7, queen h5 check, king d7, no need to go king f8 because we've seen it before. Bishop h6 check, and then the same thing with rook e3. In the real game, king d7 played and bishop takes f6. Edouard saw this brilliant variation which becomes the game. Knight takes a1, played. But what if bishop takes f6, rook d5 check, king c6, take, a takes b3, bishop takes b2, rook a2. This whole time, the queen on h5 is guarding d1. If you move the bishop back, c4, and we're good. The knight can come to d2, the king can come to f1. We have seen this variation before. In the real game, knight takes a1 was played, and now bishop takes e7. Black played queen takes e7, but let's have a look at two other alternatives, beginning with queen g8. Let's check the black king a few times and it should be mate very soon, beginning with queen f5 check. Move the king, queen e4 check. If you go king d7, bishop b4 is the stunning retreating move. The e7 square is so important, white will put the rook there and it will be mate very soon. c6, you can check, and in this position I saw queen d4 check with queen b6. And that works. Queen d4, the queen can come. If you block, you can take the rook as well. But queen b6 is a nice mate. However, if you want to just mate in one after king d8, you can just move the bishop to a5. A nice checkmate. If queen e8, there's now a beautiful mate in 4. Coming up, backward queen moves are the best. Let's play queen d1 check. Black can only go to c6. Black can now go to b7. Let's put a stop to that with queen f3 check. Black can now only go to b6. c5, d6 are guarded by the rook and the bishop. If it was black's move now, black could go to a7. Let's put a stop to that with bishop c5 check. Black can now only go to a5, and now checkmate in one move, queen a3. After bishop takes e7, black chose to give the queen back with queen takes e7, and the game will be over very soon. Black is lacking coordination. Rook takes e7 check, king takes e7, queen c5 check. One of the rooks will fall very soon. If you go king d7, queen d5 check, picks up the rook on a8. If you go king f6, queen d4 check, picks it up. In the game, king f7 played, and now queen takes c7 check, black resigned. Wherever the king goes, white will pick up one of the rooks very soon. King g8, queen d8 check. King g7, queen d4 check. King can go back, queen d5 check, a rook will fall. If you enjoyed this beautiful miniature, then why not check out one of my other videos over here. Also, check out another video over here.